Hey, Dave. Good of you. I don't see Kevin, so I don't know if I can start, but that doesn't mean he's not in here. There he is. So, the review of the last game was pretty much what we thought afterwards. Two very good football teams playing, and Kansas State had a really good game plan, and I give a lot of credit to their players and their coaches. They did a great job, and quarterback, I mentioned him this morning in the Big 12 teleconferences, is a good player, and he's smart and well coached and made good decisions. And I didn't realize he was actually that big until I saw him live. It's interesting how you see players. You see them on TV, you see them on tape, and then when you see them live, whether it's a quarterback or any other position, how you get a different perspective of him. And so he was an impressive player in this game, and we lost the turnover battle by 2, which put us in a difficult situation in the fourth quarter. And we took some points off the board on one of those. But we were able to find a way to win. I thought our offense played very well in the second half when we needed to score points. They were able to make plays. I thought that the defense made plays at the right time of the game. We'd certainly like to have gotten more 3-and-outs there in the second half. We weren't able to force a turnover, but they found a way to win. And I had mentioned this afterwards, that I think that when you have special seasons, or what people would look back on and say you had a really good football season, is you're going to have some games like that. So it was good to get that one under our belt. And like always, we have a new challenge now. We're back on the road in Lubbock. They're moving the ball and scoring points, and very active, playing fast like we do on offense. So we had discussions with our team last night about the BCS and what people think about Oklahoma State and all those different areas that I'm sure you guys have questions about. And our approach has been the same as it has been each week. And I did mention to the team that number 2 is really not any different than number 3. Ultimately, you got to go play. You got to be competitive each week and got to find a way to win. And so I think they understand that. I feel like they're handling everything very well at this point. Their attitude was really good in the team meeting last night, like it has been throughout the season and really for the last 2 years. They're listening to music in the team room and joking and having fun. And obviously when you're winning at any level, it's fun. So that's where we're at. Our challenges, on offense and defense and in special teams really stay the same. A little bit different approach with their style of offense. So we just need to prepare well this week and go out and play hard on Saturday.
Coach Gundy, I was really impressed with the crowd noise when Baylor got the ball first and goal with 5. I don't know whether you were so focused that you didn't register with you, but they were really loud.
Well, when Kansas State got down to what would be the 4 or 5 yard line, talking about the end of the game.
Yes, sir.
Our crowd was really into it, and as I mentioned after the game, the play before that, when they rolled to the right and threw back to the left and got to that point, I was really not concerned at all because I felt like the time was working against them. They had 1 timeout. They were still 33 yards away. I believe there was 19 seconds on the clock. So if you just start to go through it in your head, most plays are going to take a minimum of 5 and at least 6 seconds unless you're on the goal line. You can get one off quicker than that. So you figure they got to cover 33 yards in what would be 19 seconds. And our crowd was into the game. And I think we were second largest, or what was it, Kevin? Okay, it's largest. Kevin probably told me that, and I've already forgotten by now. It's 2 earthquakes in a 24-hour period. Set a guy off. So, but I thought our crowd did a great job throughout the game. And what you said is true, but when we got behind by 10, we were behind by 10 at one time, and we came back on the field offensively, it got really loud for our offense, which was a good lift for our team. So they've been tremendous. And I said this at homecoming at the pep rally, that our crowd over the last 2 or 3 years has now learned how to be to give us that extra player. For a number of years, I'm not sure we really knew when to be loud and not. But over the last few years, we've gotten really good at it. They know when the defense is out there and on third downs and fourth downs, and even in pregame, they've been very, very good. So we're making strides in a lot of areas.
Mike, you said there's not really a difference between 2 and 3 in BCS, but that's not really true.
Well, I knew somebody was going to hit me with that. It would be you, Barry.
2 and 3 and then BCS is the difference.
I know, and what I meant by that was for us, because we have to play in a game, but I knew as soon as I said that somebody out there that was good in math was going to figure out that it made a big difference. So go ahead, I'm listening.
It's got to be a good feeling that at least you control your destiny.
Right.
If you went out, you're going to be in New Orleans.
Right.
So is that something you want to focus on and dwell on, or you want to try to remove that from people's heads, or how do you deal with it?
You know, I think this goes back to like 3-4 weeks ago. We've really kind of controlled our own destiny because, I mean, everybody knew that LSU was going to play Alabama, and so we can't really get it out of our players' heads. And I said this last week, that I think that if you try to act like it's not there, that their response would be different than it is there. And so I am pleased that people across the country see us as a quality football team and put us high enough to where we can get a formula or a computer number. And I'm not good with that at all. I just know that you have to be ranked high, and then the computer has to like you. So I'm glad everybody has to like us.
With each win, that pressure gets ratcheted up.
Mm-hmm.
How do you, as an individual, how does your coaching staff, and how do your players find that release valve?
Well, there's not really a release valve. I mean, I run every day, and I guess that's my release valve. At the end of the day, I go home with my kids, and there's a certain point you can release it, but it doesn't go away until you fall asleep at night. And then as soon as you wake up, before I get the dog off the bed, it comes back in my mind. And I'm sure it's that way with the players. I think that I wish if there were coaches and players out there that have been in this situation or are in this situation that know how to relieve it, I wish they'd let me know, because I certainly don't know how, other than focusing on practice and trying to get 3 or 4 good days of work and just tell the players we just want to play hard on Saturday. And that I'm comfortable with, because they know, I've told them for years, we've told them as a staff for years here that, look, on Saturday we want you to have fun and play hard. And from that point on, so be it, whatever happens. Now, that's easier said than done when you're in the position we are. But that's kind of been the way that we've approached the games for a number of years here.
So are you, at least yourself, feeling the pressure more than you ever have? Because, I mean, you guys have never been in this position before this late in the season.
There's more pressure now. You talking about me personally?
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, you know, my Nexium, I used to not have to take it every day. I take it every day now. I mean, but there's pressure. I just think that, I mean, I'm just being honest with you. If I was to stand here and say that there's no more pressure or more pressure that I feel now than I did 2 years ago, you ought to get up and walk out of here. So, you know, I show up in public. I've said this a million times. I'm trying to give you the best example I can. I go to my kids' games, or I go somewhere, my wife tells me to pick up milk. I pick up milk. Somebody's going to mention where we're at and what's going on. And so there's no avoiding it. I think you confront it, and you try to play fundamentally sound football and get your players ready and go.
So how do you manage the balance with your players, recognizing there is obviously some pressure, but learning how to handle it? How do you manage that with the guys and ask those guys to manage it?
I think you got to be honest with them, be up front. I mean, it is what it is, and you brought this on yourself. You created this monster by being a good football team, and you're good players, and you've done the right thing, and you've won games. But it's certainly a good situation to be in. And you know, there's no more pressure put on us than by within our program. There's no more pressure from anywhere outside put on the coaches than we put on ourselves, and I'm sure the players feel the same way. But my response to a guy just today that had a very similar question is, yeah, there's a lot of pressure, but I'd certainly rather be in this situation than sitting here with 3 or 4 wins.
How much?
So,
How
go
much
ahead.
did you emphasize when you talked to the team last night, maybe some of the negative national thing? When you go head-to-head with LSU, Alabama, and they're all in love with what they saw in that game, and yet they see, they're going to talk about the defense giving up 45 points. How much do you emphasize that part of it? And do you emphasize it maybe as a motivating factor?
Again, I'm being honest with you. I didn't know that was going on. I hadn't watched the BCS show. I don't read the newspaper. Sometimes people put things on my desk, and Kevin knows this, and, I think you guys trust Kevin. There's a lot that goes on that I don't know about, and if he thinks it's something I need to know about, he'll come and tell me because he knows I don't know. Just like before the game when Lisa Salters asked me what I thought of the earthquake. I didn't know there was an earthquake that night. And, I didn't know because I just go straight to, and I don't pay attention to much anything else. So I don't really have an answer for that because I don't really know how other people think or how other people feel about them compared to us.
Coach, apologies to my media brethren about pressure questions. We can get back to them. But you got a senior class, and I know they've still got some games to play. Talk a little bit about Rashedi Jones, on and off the field, and what he has meant to this program.
Well, we were looking for a player to give us a lift with the departure of Ori Lemon. Ori, we had an unfortunate injury prior to the Georgia game, and everybody was heartbroken. And then he comes back and was probably the best leader we've ever had around here, and carried that defense last year. And when he departed, our concerns were who's going to step up and take that role, because we got some guys on defense that are good players, but they're all quiet. They don't really. They lead by example, which is my favorite way of guys to lead, but you also got to have somebody that'll talk a little bit. And Broderick Brown's not going to do it, and Jamie Blatnick's not going to do it. Markell, he's not as outspoken as you'd want him to be. So we didn't have that guy. Rashedi has taken that role. And when he started, I mentioned to him that you can't take this role over and you can't talk and be a vocal leader unless you back it up by the effort that you give us on Saturdays. And so his effort's been really good. He laid out and caused the fumble down here at the first of the game. And so he's kind of taken that role on. He's nurturing some of our freshmen that aren't really sure that all the hard work's worth it, and they go through those situations. He's done a nice job with those players. So he's come a long way. And I mentioned at times guys that are a true success story in college football, and talk about Kai Staley and talk about what Ori's gone through. And Rashedi kind of falls in that category with the traumatic hip injury. He had a bad injury. And a lot of times guys can't even come back from that. And it took him 2 years, and then he was just average, and he got a little better. And so now he's become one of our vocal leaders on our football team and the main vocal leader on our defense.
He said on that last play, he saw you and Bill Young on the sidelines pushing him out to the 9. And Bill Young said fans wouldn't notice it, but his influence on that play blocked Klein's view.
Yeah, we wanted him out wide, and everybody was yelling, and I don't know how I don't think he heard us, but I don't know, he had vision with us, and we moved him out, and he got up the field and contained the quarterback on that play, which forced him to called his hand on about his 5th step, where he either had to make a throw or try to cut back and run, compared to letting it go on out there about 15 more steps. And he moved out and got up the field, and it was a big part of that play.
Another player, James Thomas, we've talked about this several times, how he's an opportunistic guy.
Right.
I hate to use the word luck, but how else would you describe this late?
Well, there's some luck involved in it, but James has got some savvy. He needs to play harder all the time, but it's interesting when he's in there, the one thing he's done is he's chased the ball. And good defensive players will always chase the ball no matter what. And then if you're in the area where the ball's on the ground or in the air, obviously if you're chasing it, you have a chance. And the second part of that is when he has had a chance to make a play, he's made a play. I mean, he's caught every one of them, and then he's ended up running the ball and being effective. And so chase the football, be in the right spot, and then if you get a chance to make a play, you got to make a play.
Both Rashedi and Brandon were talking about how playing in Lubbock just kind of has a different feel. The fans are really rowdy. What are some of your memories from going out there? What makes that such a weird place sometimes to play?
Oh, I don't know if it's – I don't really see it that way myself. I kind of feel like it's like all the other road games we have. I mean, it's it's not easy to play anywhere we go in this league. So I don't really see it any different myself. It's hard for me to comment on that.
What is going on with Tech, though? They had one of the great wins in school history. And 2 games since then, including one at home against a mediocre team, and just lost. They've been bad. What's going on?
I don't know, Barry. It's hard to say what goes through these guys' minds and what causes them to perform at a really high level or not perform at a level as high as they would want to. I don't know. It's just hard to say. But they have the capability of moving the ball, scoring fast, and scoring quite a few points. And then defensively, there's been times where they've played good, really good. So as far as how or why the roller coaster, I can't explain that.
Tuberville said, he was pretty despondent after the game, said, we can't stop anybody who can run the ball. That's got to put a smile on your face. It's true, doesn't it?
Yeah, we run the ball. Now, the running game that he saw Saturday was not what we do. Obviously, we know that. We had 2 tight ends in the game and a fullback a number of times, and they're blocking down, they're pulling a guard, and fullback's leading up in the hole. So I think his response there was in reference to what would be a traditional power running game.
Is that what Iowa State does largely also?
I haven't seen that one yet. Since they changed quarterbacks, I have not watched that tape yet. I've had discussions about that game with some guys on our staff, but I hadn't gotten into that part of it yet.
In his press conference today, Les Miles was very, very complimentary of you, taking this program to a level higher than you. What's your relationship like with him? Do you talk much?
I have a good relationship with Les, but Dave, I've said this many times, I don't talk to anybody. I haven't talked to my brother in 6 weeks, and that's just because he called and he needed to borrow something, chainsaw or something. I don't know what it was, but I haven't talked to him. I mean, we have a great relationship. When the season's over, we communicate. Our kids talk more, but I don't. Larry Fedora and I are good buddies, and we text maybe 5 times a year. I have a lot of respect for him as a football coach, and I've said this publicly the last year or two, and specifically over the last few months when people have mentioned him. There was a nice article on him in Sports Illustrated just recently. They had called, I can't remember who wrote the article, but they called and were asked questions about him, and I visited with him a little bit. So there's somebody has a subscription to Sports Illustrated, and so they put it on my desk, and I read it last week, and I thought it was very well deserved. I don't know why people have been on him for the last 2 or 3 years. All he's done is won a bunch of football games on the road and at home and kept them up here. And he's had, 6 or 8 top 10 recruiting classes. So what he's done, in my opinion, has been pretty good. And weird. I mean, I'm not sure weird. If he's there, I sure hope I get the chance. But I'll say this, that he and I have always had a very good relationship. Les is not, I think, and again I'm putting words in his mouth, I think he had a really good a really close relationship with Bo, and I think he talked to him quite a bit. And then outside of that, again, you'd have to ask him. I don't think he talks to very many people either. He's in his own little world. But I enjoyed the time that I was here with him as an assistant and him being a head coach, because offensively we worked together every day. And we argued all week over this and that. And then on Saturday we'd go out and we had fun. We'd score points. And, the system we were in was good, and I learned a lot from him. And it does not surprise me, the success that he's having. But, he kind of got the ball rolling here. And I was fortunate enough to take his place and then able to keep it going from that point on. But everybody needs to be, thankful for what he did here now, in my opinion. I mean, that's just my opinion.
We need to talk to him more when we get Kale a raise so we can buy a chainsaw.
I don't know. I don't know anything. No, I just threw that out. He usually calls when he needs something, and so he usually wants some kind of football or poster signed or something that he's got a buddy of his that'll sell on eBay or something. I don't know what he's got going, but he's got some kind of a plan. But when he calls, it's usually because he needs something.
I kind of got a constant theme, and I know it's a little early, but this senior class, you had some very good senior classes already in your career here. But talk a little bit about, it's not a huge senior class necessarily.
Right.
Talk a little bit about these guys as a group.
Well, they're going to have an opportunity to win maybe more games over a 4-year period than anybody, Kevin. So I would think that's pretty special in itself. I'm trying to go back, 11 last year. The year before that, they won 9. I don't know, the year before that. So they've had a minimum of some 9-win seasons and an 11-win season, which is difficult to accomplish. But I think more importantly than anything, what we ask our players to do is to leave some sort of mark on the program and the players that are younger than them, and they've done that. They've been class guys. If you go down the list, they're class individuals. There's been a few of them that made some mistakes, but they've corrected them. They've done better. And so that's all we can ever ask of them. Life's not easy and life's not perfect. And at this age, sometimes they don't make the best decisions. But for themselves and for the program and for Oklahoma State, I think they've been great ambassadors. And that means as much to us as a coaching staff as anything. Because in recruiting, it never fails that we'll have 6 or 8 of the parents of the 16 or 18 that we sign, that they'll be more concerned with our players and how they've handled themselves here than they will be with X's and O's or how soon their son's going to be able to play. And they've done a great job with that. And I have to give a lot of credit to the way they've handled the development of our team over the last few years, because history will tell you in college football, if you look over the last 20 years, teams that have done what we've accomplished what we have here and gone like this, there's been some unfortunate off-the-field issues, because human nature is to get to thinking that you're entitled to something and you're bigger than the game, knock on wood. Our guys have done a good job with that. And so I give them a lot of credit for that and handling things the right way and taking what we hope to provide them, which is leadership, and then buying into it and buying into the program.
Coach, there was only 3 penalties for 35 yards on Saturday, and it seems like since the A&M first half of A&M, there hasn't been that killer penalty that's killed a drive or thrown you guys in a tough spot on defense. Can you talk about the discipline of this team and how few penalties they've had this year?
I'm impressed with our team in that area as much as anything, because we were poor in the A&M game. We just about took ourselves out of the game with penalties. Fortunately, we were able to get it rolling in the second half. And since that point, we've stressed the importance of not giving away free yards. At times, there's going to be some penalties, but what we went through at A&M is not acceptable. And so we approached our team with that. We discussed it, and they bought into that. Our players have done a good job with that and have made better decisions. And obviously, all those things tie into being a disciplined football team. And we feel like that in order to continue to get better and better around here, we have to improve in areas that we feel like that we can make adjustments based on our personnel, be a disciplined football team, and continue to recruit quality people that will be better players than the ones we have in place right now.
Coach, as far as recruiting goes, how much does it help to go down to Austin, College Station, and Lubbock and all get wins down there?
Well, all your wins help, but we get a number of players from the state of Texas, and so they follow the game, and it always helps when you win. And if you're going to win somewhere where you're going to have a chance to recruit, and it certainly works to our advantage when that rolls around in January.
Looking back at the game, we had a 2:30 kickoff with the sun beat down in the student section. You had 2:30 at
Texas and 11 at Missouri, and now you have another early one at Texas Tech. I mean, it seems like the scheduling gods are kind of smiling down on your offense and not letting the crowd get out there at the tailgate.
We would prefer to play a day game. I would prefer to play all-day games. Television at times has a different way of looking at that. So we like to play during the day. I think the players enjoy playing during the day. You wake up early on game day, and your mind kind of starts spinning, and it's going to stay that way till you kick it off. So we enjoy getting out there and playing earlier in the day and getting after it, and that's what they like to do. So we're happy to play in the day.
Special teams gave up a few extra yards on kickoff returns, but on the flip side, Quinn Sharp was great when you guys could get in the end zone and score touchdowns. Can you kind of talk about that a little bit?
We wish we could have covered better. Now, we returned the ball a number of times out to the 36, 38, 40-yard line ourselves, so our return game was pretty good. If you take away their one big return, then what would be two good return teams basically battled to an even draw. They won that area because they had the long one there. Now, in our punting, we were good. We downed the ball on the 1-yard line or the half-yard line, and we were able to get a fumble and score off that. So, as I said after the game, I gave them the edge in special teams. When I sit down and in my mind I thought about how things went. But I mentioned this morning on my teleconference that Quinn is really good for us. I think everybody's aware of that. I mean, I think he's probably the best kickoff guy in the country. He's been good in PATs and field goals for us, and he's been good in punting, especially in the last few weeks. He's done a better job of downing the ball inside the 15. So he's a very, very valuable part of our football team.
Was that kickoff return late in the game, was that the most disappointing part of the game when you go back and look? That's not just give up a long kickoff return. At that point in the game,
yeah,
it seemed like it really big.
It is, and there's several things you look at that are disappointing, but when you take a college football game into account, when you play good teams, they're going to make some plays also. The reverse, you'd hate to give up the big one on the reverse, and but if you look at it from their side, I'm sure they hated to give up some of those passes, but I would agree with you that at that time we certainly would have liked to have tackled them down inside the 30 somewhere and made it more difficult. Would have applied a lot of pressure on them, or put a lot of pressure on them.
Where's your worry meter at on injuries right now? You have Jeremy, Coop, and
Well, I worry about those guys all the time, but we should get most of these guys back in the middle of the week. And when you have an injury like Coop with, he's got a ham that, he could be back Wednesday, and I honestly thought he was going to play in the last game, but it was a little tight, so we set him out. Jeremy's doing better. I mean, so, we know a lot more about where we'll be from an injury standpoint in Wednesday's practice than where we're at now.
What does it say about your receiving core that, Coop's out and Tracy Moore steps up in such a big way?
Well, we've been fortunate that I mentioned this early in the year that we had a number of skill guys that can make plays. Now it's a lot more fun when they're all out there, but we've been a little desolate the last week or two or 3 weeks with some guys not being in there, but the other guys have had to play more, and we're getting some play out of Isaiah. We're getting some play out of Josh Stewart. Getting some play out of obviously some really good play out of Tracy.
Is this what you envisioned for Josh Stewart coming into the year, kind of give him more playing time as the year went on, or is it injury thing that he just kind of has to?
I think both. I mean, obviously he's going to be more of a factor because of guys not being in there, but he's gotten quite a few reps during the season, and one thing that he's done is he's played well when he's had an opportunity to touch the football.
With Hubert gone and with Cooper out, are you guys playing a lot more snaps in games, more than you would like, or are they to the point where they can handle that pretty well?
More than I would like, because I like them all to play about 35 or 40 so they can play fast. But they're averaging about 12 more each than what we would have wanted them to. But a couple guys go out, and that's what happens.
How is that going for you?
Well, they've played fine. But the concern you have, or the concern we have, and based in our thought process and how we figure all this in the formula we have, is that how that's going to affect them 3 weeks from now, 4 weeks from now down the line. You only have so many steps and hits and things you can take during the season and continue to perform at a high level. So they're being extended a little bit more now than we'd want them to, and hopefully they'll be able to hold up for the remainder of the season. Yeah, Markel Martin's playing good. I think that he's probably missed more tackles than he would have wanted to at this point. And he's played better in the last couple games. He went through a span there where we didn't think he was tackling as good as he wanted to, and of course he agreed with us. Sometimes guys go through that when they get late in their career, but Markel's got a great attitude and a great approach, and he takes things like that personal, and he's been a good leader for us.
Is facing a quarterback like Seth Diggy, who's a little more pass happy and he's not going to take off and scramble, does that make it easier on you guys or tougher for you?
That's the catch-22. They're built around the throw, and the last guy we played was built around, if it's not there, take off and run. And so you have both of them. Some guys, you worry about them scrambling and getting a first down, then some guys will sit in there till the last second and dump it off. So I think it's just based on who you're playing.
In the old days, when you played Tech, you'd think, oh, Tech week, defensive coaches on edge, and never seen anything like it. Has the league progressed to where Tech is sort of the mainstream? And when we played Kansas State, the single wing, that's the week that you have really no idea what you're in for.
Yeah, they're in the minority now. And so more teams in our league have some sort of a spread attack. So what would from this year, a Texas and a Kansas State's approach would be now the different group or the different attack compared to what we'd see 5 years ago.
Everybody good?
Good.